Your protag has set their goal, entered the new situation, and danger is lurking. Now it's finally time to give them some success. And that success comes in a phase we call the uphill climb. In this lesson, we're going to break down the uphill climb and cover what it is, what it does, and how, when done correctly, it can help fix some of those dreaded Act 2 problems every writer knows too well, and make sure that your story doesn't sag in the middle. Let's get into it. This video is a lesson from a full free mega course on our website. If you're ready to supercharge your storytelling, click the link in the description and start your journey today. This video is also part of a series, so if you haven't watched the previous videos, there are links down below. So we've just come out of the moment of danger, which showcased your antag. However, your story is not about your antag, it's about your protag. And now it's time to show your protag finding their footing and finally facing a streak of success in the new situation with rhymes and alliteration, apparently. Welcome to the uphill climb, the 7th step of USL that is a phase, meaning it usually lasts multiple scenes and locations. And unlike the moment of danger, this phase is quite positive, showing your protag getting the hang of this whole new situation thing. The uphill climb is a continuation of the testing phase, and as mentioned in that lesson, may contain some of the same elements. A big one is the montage, which usually shows the protag or protags having fun, like in our example from Palm Springs. But unlike the testing phase, where the protag is testing things out, the uphill climb should give us the idea that the protag has figured some things out as the unfamiliar new situation becomes more familiar. This is usually shown through a series of small successes, like in The Devil Wears Prada when protag Andy is finally called by her real name, obtains an unreleased manuscript, and gets invited to a fancy benefit. You might also notice things start to heat up a bit. The challenge meter is definitely increasing, but the protag still manages to keep their head above water. Sometimes it's super clear when we enter the uphill climb, like in Legally Blonde, when protag Elle buckles down, improves in her classes, and helps her friend Paulette confront her ex. However, there are times when the testing phase will blur into the uphill climb without a super clear distinction between them. But usually, things will become a little more positive in the uphill climb, often right after the moment of danger. Another aspect of the uphill climb is that it points towards the midpoint. Many times the midpoint is either a specific event or a specific destination, and it's pretty common to have a character point out that the protag is headed there. A super obvious example is in The Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy finishes gathering her allies in the testing phase before spending the uphill climb going off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Another example is in the Lego Movie, when Vitruvius announces they must go to Cloud Cuckoo Land, and they spend the uphill climb traveling there. There's also a strange trope that may showcase the protag literally going uphill in this phase. We have no idea why this is so common, and maybe it's just a metaphor, conscious or not, of things getting more difficult or heading to the peak of the midpoint, but there's a literal uphill climb in Moana, in Frozen, in Mulan, and an up rainbow climb in the Lego Movie. And hey, maybe it's just an animated thing, but it seems too common to be a coincidence. And if you have any examples of this, comment them down below because we'd love to hear them. Now, let's cover a trick to using your uphill climb as an Act 2 booster. Often stories will begin to sag in Act 2, especially novels, since there is just so much space to fill. This might be because the story is missing a clear midpoint, but if you master the uphill climb, it can really help fill out the middle of your story. We mentioned the midpoint is usually an event or a destination. And in these cases, there are two ways you can use your uphill climb, and they'll both ensure your audience is hooked throughout Act 2. The first is what we just covered, and that's mentioning the midpoint as close to the start of the uphill climb as possible. Heck, throw it in during the testing phase if you want. The important thing is that the protag has a destination to reach, and they can spend the uphill climb journeying towards it. This helps a ton with the pacing of your story, as it gives the audience something to look forward to. It's almost like a mini hook at the start of Act 2. It asks the question, will the protag reach the midpoint, and what will happen when they do? The second way to utilize your uphill climb is to showcase the protag preparing for the midpoint. And this should be used in conjunction with the first trick. When the midpoint is an event, we should see the protag getting ready. That might be gathering supplies for a party, like in 21 Jump Street, or finding an outfit to wear, like in Ready Player One. In both of these cases, the uphill climb is used to build anticipation for the upcoming midpoint, and it helps keep the audience engaged. Also, feel free to use the uphill climb to trick your audience. There's an absolutely genius example of this in Bridesmaids, when the group of bridesmaids decide to head to Vegas for their bachelorette party. Remember that scene when they party in Vegas? Oh, you don't? That's because they tricked you with the uphill climb. It takes place on a plane headed to Vegas. And so in our minds, we expect the bachelorette party in Vegas, both a destination and an event, by the way, to be the midpoint. However, Protag Annie gets them kicked off the plane, which cancels the trip. And this is great because it makes this moment feel even more startling and impactful to the audience. That covers the essentials of the uphill climb, including what it is, what it does, and a few different ways to use it to fill out the middle of your story. But if you're looking to really fill up on the uphill climb, the extended version of this lesson covers a huge explanation of how the uphill climb can sometimes be switched with the downhill fall. Plus, you'll get to see the uphill climb in action with an in-depth example of the 2010 romantic comedy, She's Out of My League. See you there.